Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
I have seen more of this state's poor cowboys, miners, railroaders, and Indians go broke buying pickup trucks. The poor people of this state are dope fiends for pickup trucks.
Welcome to Wake Up Heavy, the world's greatest horror movie podcast.
You got your Tony Lamas on, your jeans pressed tight. Take a few tips, make you feel alright. Rockin' and a rollin' on a Livingston Saturday night. Pickups washed and you just got paid. With any luck at all, you might even get laid. Cause they're picking and a kicking on a Livingston Saturday night.
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up Heavy, Recollections of Horror. This is Mark Begley, your host. Today I'm going to be diving into new territory.
And now for something completely different.
Instead of talking about a movie, I'm going to be doing something that I have never done before, that I figured I'd probably never be doing on this show, and that is a Blu-ray review. Now, there's a bunch of shows out there, specifically on YouTube, and I know there are podcasts as well that focus on Blu-ray reviews. I'm not trying to compete with that. This is not something that I'm taking up the gauntlet for, except in this particular case, and there's a specific reason for that, a couple reasons. And one of the reasons is that I became particularly smitten with this film when I watched it a couple months ago, and if you've been listening to the show for the last few months, I am sure you have heard my praise of this film. And then the second reason was just throw my support toward the company that released this on Blu-ray. So today I'm going to be talking about Fun City Edition's release of the Frank Perry film from 1975, Rancho Deluxe.
Rancho Deluxe.
I want to talk about the Blu-ray itself, the whole deal, the package, the contents, and all of that. And I have been following Fun City Editions since I first heard about them sometime early this year or towards the end of last year. They released a film called Jeremy, and I saw this come up in my Twitter feed because of the movie folks that I follow. And as Anthony King and I discussed on the American Werewolf in London episode, this is a movie that I was completely unfamiliar with. And that trend sort of continued to happen. The second release was I Start Counting. Again, Anthony and I kind of discussed. Sam Deegan mentioned this on the Brood episode and was intrigued by it. I like British thrillers from the early 70s. I like Jenny Agutter. And so I just kind of kept my eye on Fun City and what they were doing. And just about every release has been intriguing to me. almost all of them have been movies that I am unfamiliar with and definitely have never seen. A while back, I started to see these pictures of Jeff Bridges and Sam Waterston in this film called Rancho Deluxe. Did my normal search, found the film, was streaming a bunch of different places, watched it, fell in love. Since that time, Fun City has made a few more releases. Prior to that, they obviously had released some other things that I was interested in. I had been tossing around in my head, I need to place an order. I have to buy Rancho Deluxe at least. But I wanted to kind of hold off and see if other things popped up and buy a package deal. I finally decided to go ahead and make that purchase a few weeks ago, and I got Rancho Deluxe, I Start Counting, and Walking the Edge, which is a 70s film with Robert Forster, Nancy Kwan, and Joe Spinell. Again, never heard of it. I love all three of those actors. The story sounds really interesting. I have watched I Start Counting, gone through the Rancho Deluxe package, and we'll get to hopefully Walking the Edge later this week. But this is today specifically about the Rancho Deluxe Blu-ray that they released. I bought the limited edition, which came with the slipcover. I'm not a big slipcover guy. Most of them end up in the garbage. They're kind of pointless in a way, but the artwork on this was so stunning, and it's a little bit more for the limited edition. Throw some extra bucks Fun City's way. The best way to support a company like this is to actually buy their product. So having said all that, I was really excited to get this package. I posted the pictures to social media as soon as I got it because of our trip this last week and a few other things, catching up with work and recording with Anthony. I finally got around to unwrapping the Rancho Deluxe package. So I'm going to talk about a few different aspects of the release, and I think this is normally what people do when they discuss a Blu-ray. The first thing is the packaging itself. I am happy that I got the slipcover because, for one thing, it's different than the typical slipcover you get from a mainstream edition Blu-ray that you buy at Target. It's on really nice, thick cardstock, which as a paper nerd is important to me. The cover has embossed lettering, so the title Rancho Deluxe is embossed, and also printed in glossy ink, which separates it, highlights it from the rest of the artwork. And the artwork itself is fantastic. The art is by an Australian design company called We Buy Your Kids, and I believe they did at least one other cover for Fun City, the Alphabet City release. They may have done another one as well. And if you go look at their site or their Instagram, you'll see their distinct style. When I posted my pictures of the Fun City package that I got, my sister made note of the artwork of this release in particular and said it would make a great t-shirt. So Fun City, if you're listening, I don't know if that's something you can do. She hasn't even seen the movie, I believe, but the artwork definitely stood out to her. Love the artwork for this. It is replicated on the sleeve, so whether you get the standard or limited edition, you're going to get that artwork. The design of the package was by the layout and design was done by Sister Hyde, who is responsible for a couple of the other Fun City edition covers, and I am at a loss right now to remember which one specifically. But they've also done a lot of the covers, not a lot, some covers for Criterion releases, Arrow. I think they did the Over the Edge release. Oh, Walking the Edge, the one I have. Sorry, I just realized they did the Walking the Edge cover artwork. Over the Edge for Arrow, which looks really, really cool. Packaging is fantastic on this. The layout of the slipcover itself, the sleeve, which is reversible, which I love. Again, I don't buy a ton of Blu-rays, but when I do, that is one thing that I actually really enjoy, is being able to flip that around. Especially since a lot of times the new quote-unquote artwork from a company, and I'm thinking of one in particular, and I'm not going to name that company, it's usually pretty awful, and it's nice to have the option of, say, an original poster design or something to flip it around to. And that's what you get in this. It's not the poster design that I am familiar with. It's another one, a little bit bodier. At some point, I'll probably flip that around, reverse it, so that I've got something else to look at on my Blu-ray shelf. The booklet that it comes with is designed nicely, and it has a brief essay from Gavin Smith that hits all the major aspects of the film without stealing the movie's thunder. It assumes that you've seen the film, so it's not like it's anti-spoilery per se, but it doesn't blow the whole wad. But we get nice details of the cast and crew. It's written with a nice touch of humor, which goes along with the film itself. So I did enjoy reading that, finding out a little bit more about some of the actors and actresses that I wasn't super familiar with before watching the movie. And there are some nice behind-the-scenes photos strewn throughout that. As far as the extras on the disc itself, it's not jam-packed with extras, which for me isn't necessarily a minus, because I tend to get overwhelmed when there's just tons and tons of stuff. I enjoy making of documentaries included with Blu-rays. There isn't that in this. Things like scripts when they're in there, I rarely flip through a 120, 90, however many page script on my TV screen. What we do get are 2 video essays. One is called Like Playing Jazz, which is an interview with Tom McGuane. It's about 10 minutes long, discussing the film, the writing of the film, his experiences in Montana, where the film takes place, and a couple other funny on-set stories. The second one, and this is about twice as long, is an interview with Jeff Bridges that the head of Fun City Editions, Jonathan Hertzberg, did with him over Zoom. This, of course, took place during the pandemic. It's wonderful. Jeff Bridges is fun to listen to. His unaffected homespun delivery of stories is nice. So we get, again, more stories about filming in Montana, the actors that he worked with, the director, etc., etc. The thing for me that really gets me is his story of meeting his future wife. This isn't from the Blu-ray, but this is basically the same story. This is from Oprah Winfrey's network. And just wanted to play a little clip of it because it has some meaning for me.
I said, would you like to go out tonight? No. Oh, yeah, it's a small town. Maybe I'll see you around, she says. I said, oh, okay. A few nights later, I'm in a bar, and sure enough, there she is, and we danced, and that was about it, man. I mean, I was head over heels. I was head over heels the first time I saw her,
And so when I first heard this story, it reminded me of how I met my wife. Of course, not on a movie set in Montana or anything like that. Away from home, traveling, looking across the room, and the rest is history. Same kind of deal. So it's heartwarming to me to hear him talk about this. And they've been married ever since then and living still in Montana. The other extras include some TV scenes. So this is from the television edit. I believe it's one of 2 or maybe both of these scenarios. So I always think of Halloween and Halloween 2 when they played on TV. There were inserted scenes that weren't in the theatrical cut. And a lot of times that was to pad the time. So scenes that got cut, sometimes I think they were even reshot later. I believe that's the case in Halloween, where they came back and, everybody's obviously wearing wigs to make them, and they look older, etc. I feel like in this case, it was to pad the time to fill in a 2-hour time slot or to excise, not particularly graphic, but a very intense sex scene in the movie. So to get that out, and pad the time, these scenes were added for the television edit, or added back in, I should say. The first one is a scene which I kind of wish was in the movie because it's more of Joe Spinell. So it's Joe Spinell and Sam Waterston having another conversation. The second scene is with Jack Cecil and the girls, the two sisters that they're courting during this. Doesn't add a whole heck of a lot. And then the third and fourth scene run together, but they're two separate scenes. One's with Jack and Cecil, the Jeff Bridges and Sam Waterston characters, and then the ranchers, Cora and John Brown, who they are stealing cattle from. Again, not a whole heck of a lot is added or would be added to the film if these were inserted, but it's kind of nice to see those things. The other extras are an image gallery, not something that particularly interests me. I went through it. There are some lovely behind-the-scenes photos, mainly of cast and crew. Some of it is just scenery, and the Montana scenery is gorgeous. A few of those are used in the packaging itself. And then the trailer, not always that big of a deal to me. I'll usually do that once. I'll watch the trailer once, go through the image gallery once. Rarely do I go through these kind of extras repeatedly. But it's interesting to note that the trailer doesn't work for the movie, and it might be one of the reasons why this film didn't do all that well. It doesn't hit the tone of the film very well at all. The other big extra, and most Blu-rays come with at least one of these days, is the commentary, and it is by Nick Pinkerton, who I'm sad to say I'm unfamiliar with. Commentaries, I find myself generally wanting to just get back to the movie. That's not a statement on the commentaries themselves. Even when I'm watching something like Taxi Driver, and again, I have to go back to when I had this on Laserdisc in the 90s, I would watch it with the commentary or try to watch it, and I would just want to get back to the movie. But this was more of a scholarly commentary, so it's directed toward not just what's on screen, although there is some of that, but the history of the movie, a lot of information about the cast and crew, the main cast and crew of the film, which is stuff that I find very interesting. I learned a lot about Harry Dean Stanton that I didn't know, Elizabeth Ashley, a lot of the other actors, Jeff Bridges and Sam Waterston and Joe Spinell, how they were connected in other films as well as in other Thomas McGuane films. Kind of interconnectedness is interesting to me, and I tend to do some of that on my show. My favorite bit of trivia was finding out that Slim Pickens is a son of the Valley. He was born in Kingsburg, California, which is about 20-25 miles away from Fresno, which I believe is also where Bill Thornberry from Phantasm was born. He might have been Tulare, but either way. Valley Boys. Yay. The only thing, and I don't know if this was a goof on mine or if it was intentional. Well, two things. The first thing, and I don't think this was intentional, it seemed like the commentary was about 30 seconds behind for a while. This could just be a playback issue, could be my player, could be the disc itself. He was referencing actors or action on the screen. It wouldn't start happening for about 30 seconds after. That seemed to correct itself after a while. The other thing that I noticed, and again, this may be intentional, there were 3 or 4 instances of fairly large gaps of silence. I know that silence can be used in commentaries, and you have to fit the commentary to the length of the film. Maybe the commentary was shorter and there were gaps, or there was just nothing to talk about during that particular stretch of time in the film. A few of them seemed odd, though, and I don't know if it was dropout or if it was intentional. But other than that, I did quite enjoy the commentary, especially for the information about the cast and crew, the filming locations, and things like that. I guess the other big thing to discuss on a Blu-ray review is the picture itself. I've only watched this once before, When I watched it yesterday, I watched it with the commentary, but paid attention to the picture. And I had to kind of remind myself this morning of the version that I had previously watched. So it's streaming right now on ScreenPix, which we have through Xfinity. This is an MGM movie, and the MGM library hops around a lot. There used to be an MGM channel, and it's been gone for a couple of years. So I tuned that in and flicked through it, skipped ahead about 5 minutes. I did notice a difference. It appears to me that the Blu-ray is crisper, cleaner, and brighter than the version that's on ScreenPix. That, as far as I can tell, is what I previously watched, I believe, on a different channel. And I think when I first watched Rancho Deluxe, I started it on either Tubi or Prime or one of those services, and it was a VHS rip. And I was like, nope. We switched to one of the other services, and it was what I believe is from the last DVD release of the film. Looks fine for the most part, but the Blu-ray is definitely a cleaner picture, a little more detailed and sharp and bright. I'm not going to sit there and set up two screens and do side by side. There are websites that do that. You can probably find that maybe on DVD Beaver or something like that. But I could tell that this was a nicer image. To wrap this all up, I figured I would give ratings to the particular aspects that I just covered, and then an overall rating for this Blu-ray release. So let's do that, and then we'll be done. So the packaging, with that wonderful artwork, the nice heavy cardstock slipcover, reversible sleeve, etc., etc. Packaging for me is an A+. It is one of the reasons that I needed to buy this Blu-ray. The extras, not a ton, but they're pretty interesting. I'll definitely watch the McGuane and Bridges interviews again. The rest of the stuff probably won't get back to. Overall, they were well produced and played fine on my Blu-ray player, so I give the extras a B+. The commentary, a lot of information that was helpful. It's not something that I'll go back to again and again unless I were for some reason to do an episode on this, which is definitely a possibility at some point. I'd give the commentary a B, and part of that is just because of the technical issues, which, me being a novice, could be my player, could be playback settings, could be some other issue. The picture, I would give an A, and overall, for the Fun City Edition's Blu-ray release of Rancho Deluxe, I give an A. So who knows? Maybe I'll dive into the other two as Blu-ray reviews as well, but I wouldn't plan on this becoming a regular addition to the Wake Up Heavy programming. But like I said, I wanted to throw out some love to the movie itself, to this nice Blu-ray release, and to Fun City Editions. Check it out. If you're a tightwad like me, just get the regular edition minus the slipcover. You'll miss that neat embossing, but it's the same stuff inside. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Be safe, be smart, be healthy, be nice, be kind, and don't forget.
Anything can happen when you wake up heavy.
Did you ever walk a quarter between your fingers?
Never mind that. That's the first thing they teach you in jail. How to walk a quarter between your fingers. Simple-minded card tricks are next.
A restless daydream, thoughts of jail, dust clouds rising, tearing down the trail. Got our plans laid to make a few bucks, buy a spread called Rancho Deluxe.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.